What's the story, guys? Welcome to another episode of What Happens Here podcast. Today's show is proudly sponsored by Urban Performance Labs. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about, they're an Australian company, but they're based right here in the United States. Basically, it's all to do with sports. Pre-workouts. We've got vitamin B. Do you want to pop those up on the screen there? We've got vitamin B12 shots. We've got the Test LA. We have got CBD. Now, everyone knows the benefits and the factors of CBD. Good for mental health, good for sleeping, good for pain. You can see everything. Oh, the omega fish oil. Now, let me tell you a little bit. Now, check this out, guys. When you order from these guys, urbanperformancelabs.com, if you drop the WHH promo code, whenever you spend over $100, you're going to get 10% off anything that you buy. Now, check it out. If you spend over $200, we're going to give free shipping to anywhere else here in the world. It's pretty cool. How could we forget MMA Uncensored, one of the top mixed martial arts sites here on the internet? You know, these guys are updating you daily. MMA Uncensored for all your mixed martial arts needs. Everyone always asks me, where do you get your haircut, Marcus? Where do you get that slick haircut? Well, there's only one place where I go. There's only one barbershop that I go to. Actually, a matter of fact, there's two. There's the Garrison and there's Elliott & Co. Show everybody what this looks like. And of course, how could we forget, today's episode is proudly fueled by...
In Ireland, the highest form of compliment in any pub is an insult. So I'm considered quite complimentary. Proper No.12 Irish Whiskey.
What's the story, guys? Welcome to another episode. Thanks very much for joining us once again here in Sin City, Las Vegas, Show Creator Studios. I'm Marcus Deegan, your host of the What Happens Here podcast, and we are back in the studio again, ready for another great one. Thank you very much for joining us, whether you're watching us on YouTube, which is always good, but I know you're probably listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, whether you're traveling to work, you're coming home, you're driving to your mum's. We appreciate the support. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating and let everybody know What Happens Here podcast. That's the way to go. Well, I tell you what, I like to bring people in here that have some really amazing stories, and this kid has got an absolute baller for you. He's one of the only, actually, he's made history, the only UFC fighter from Israel. But don't take it from me. Check this out.
So Natan Levy has our lawyers and our Hollywood agents going crazy right now. These guys have been waiting for a guy from Israel who was actually very good. Dominated a guy up a weight class on only 5 days' notice and subbed a guy who's 6-0 with 5 submissions. I look forward to seeing his stand-up in the UFC.
I left everything back home 7 years ago, like some madman. Just packed everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome to the podcast? I'm going to say this name correctly. Mr. Natan Levy. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks very much for coming to the show. Welcome to What Happens Here podcast. You're a Las Vegas resident.
I am a Las Vegas resident.
So tell everybody where you're from, actually, originally.
Originally, I was born in Paris, France. But at a very young age, I moved to Herzliya in Israel. Grew up there, started training there. And at age 22, after some years of doing karate and martial arts, I decided I want to do MMA, and I had to fly to the mecca of MMA in the world, which is Las Vegas. And I've been here since.
So, but you've also been to Japan as well. You spent some time over there.
Yeah, true.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, you know, at age 16, after doing karate for about 2 years, I had this crazy idea of going to Japan, and I wanted to learn from the greatest masters in the world. And I told my mom, hey, Mom, I'm going to go to Japan in the summer to train. So obviously she thought I'd never do it. So she said, yeah, sure, go ahead, do it. A few days later, I show up with the plane ticket, and she couldn't say no anymore.
So, how do Israeli mothers feel about their sons getting punched in the face for a living?
They don't like it.
You come from a big family?
I got two big brothers.
Yeah.
And I got plenty of cousins.
Right.
Yeah, like my grandparents have many brothers and sisters, so yeah, big family.
So what do they think about your achievement at such a young age, coming from Israel, coming over to Las Vegas? becoming this mecca on TV. People are knowing your name, knowing who you are. You really made an entrance when you came into this sport. You really made such an explosion straight off the bat, where you've got everyone recognizing and knowing who you are. Primarily Dana White, the main man from the greatest organization, mixed martial arts in the world. How does that feel coming from a place like Tel Aviv and getting all this?
It feels awesome. You know, parents are proud of me, family is proud of me, and you know, I came to do history. Of course, it's great to be the only UFC fighter from Israel and the third ever. But for me, my goal has always been not to be like a good fighter for somebody from Israel who's like an underdog, because the sport scene is not big there. I always wanted to be a big name fighter, a known fighter, a great fighter by my own right, and not compared to where I'm from or the expectations from me.
Is there not many? Is mixed martial arts and combat sport? Is it something that's big and looked up to and loved in Israel?
It's getting there, but mostly like judo's big. Everybody goes to either judo or karate when they're a kid, but MMA is getting bigger. We're starting to have some shows. Of course, everything stopped because of COVID, but slowly getting more fighters. There's like a bunch of Israeli fighters who are coming to Vegas to train with me and at Syndicate MMA.
Wow.
And slowly we're going to get more guys to come in. I'm very proud to be the only one right now, but I want more to come. I want us to be like a force in the UFC.
Do you believe now that you have some kind of weight on your shoulders? You're the first. You're representing your country now. So do you feel a little bit of pressure that, you know, you're this guy from Israel that's now making a name here in America?
Yeah, there's pressure, but I strive under pressure.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think it's like something I always had since I was a kid. Like I wasn't the greatest at anything, but whenever I put my mind into something, I'm all in. There's like, you know, people say when people train, maybe sometimes their parents are like, oh, you're taking this too far, or maybe train a little less. There's no such thing with me. I'm always all in. If I do something, it's to be the best. When I was doing karate, I said I'm going to Japan to train, and it wasn't easy. You know, I spent months there training with the masters, having them, you know, torture you in many different ways just to make you physically, mentally stronger. And same thing when I wanted to do MMA, I said I had like successful businesses in Israel, like karate dojos. I was doing very well for my age. But I knew it was now or never. I want to do MMA. I'm going to go train with the best and compete with the best, and I'm all in.
So initially, you didn't start off as a mixed martial artist. You were more into karate. What was your style? Shotokan?
My style was Uechi-ryu. It's
Right.
Okinawan style, very like a lot of katas.
Yep.
Also full contact sparring. But in recent years, I've been doing more Kyokushin, which is more full contact sparring, and it's less about the forms and more about the combat.
And is that what got you into, like, where was your progression? Where did it start to change for you? Like, you said you had the karate dojo. Where did you start to think, hang on a thing, maybe MMA is where I should go? And what made you believe that that's something that you could achieve?
So I was watching MMA before I even started karate. When I was like 12, I would wait to watch Fedor and Crow Cup fight in Pride.
With your grandfather, right?
With my father
with your
and
father.
like some friends. And at some point, you know, I started doing karate because there was no MMA in Israel. You couldn't just go and learn and train MMA. So I started doing karate at a very hardcore dojo. First day I walk in, and I've always loved martial arts, but I never trained consistently. And I walk into this dojo, open the door, and I see somebody get spinning back kick in the face, blood flying out, and I'm like, oh shit.
This is what I want to do.
Instructor comes in, tells me to do 50 push-ups on my knuckles and 50 more on my fingers. And then he just stretches us out completely, like screaming. And at the end of the training, he said, look, 90% of people who show up for the first session never come back. Out of those who come back, 90% don't come back. And he said, you're probably never going to come back, so nice meeting you. And I would show up every day, no matter, like, I was really physically scared of training. Like, before I went there.
Were you a small kid?
I was 15-year-old.
Yeah.
My knees would shake. Like, I'd have, like, weak knees going in there, like, before I go into the octagon. And just like I was scared I'd get beat up, but I couldn't like not show up. I felt like if I'm doing this, it's all the way. So I'm showing up no matter how scared I am.
It's funny, I suppose, when you're a kid, 15 years old, being put in that environment and that terror and that fear that you have, like when you would go and have a fight after school around the back, you would have the butterflies in the stomach all week, the shaking of the knees. It's funny, as you get older, I suppose you kind of learn to use that nerves and that fear as a strength, as something that you can use in your arsenal. Do you think that being scared is a positive thing? Like you said, you get a little scared before you go in. Is that good to be a little scared?
It's good to be a little scared because if you're not scared, what happens when you're scared, right? You're going into a dark alley, middle of the night, and you're scared. So your senses get
heightened,
sharper, right? You hear a little something, you're already looking. You're sharper, and the body like closes systems that aren't important for fighting, for going to war, for hunting, and all that evolution stuff. So I think it's good, and of course you can't let it control you. I always think before a fight, nobody ever did anything great without feeling nervous prior, right? Nobody went to war, nobody went to conquer lands and wasn't nervous. So all I'm doing is I know I'm going to do something great. That's why I'm nervous.
Yep. And you did do something great, and you're doing great things. Talk about when you got that phone call that changed your life, right? When you get a phone call from the UFC, it doesn't matter what if you're hanging out with Michael Jackson and you get a phone call from the UFC, you're straight back over here. Can you tell us about that experience, how it went down, and what you felt?
Really, it was like Sunday. I was gonna go get coffee with my wife and just chill, and I get a phone call from my agent Lance. Do you want to take a fight on Dana White Contender Series in 2 days, upper weight class, against somebody who's 6-0, undefeated, jiu-jitsu brown belt, and let's do it.
So normally you fight at 145 featherweight. You moved up and you beat a guy by submission that had a 6-0 wins by submission. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you prevailed and you really shined. You really shined in that moment. That was just such a mad achievement, especially coming from only 2 days prep. Do you believe that having only 2 days prep was an advantage or a disadvantage from having a full camp?
I think if it was, if I had a full camp, maybe I would have game planned more and knew more about him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's fair. He doesn't know anything about me. I don't know anything about him. The moment I heard I have the fight, I had to start cutting weight.
So what do you walk around at now? Because you look rather solid.
Right now, I'm 182.
You're 182.
Yeah. But I went up. I'm gonna stay at lightweight.
Okay, that was gonna be one of my other topics. So 145 featherweight's done, especially in the UFC. You're gonna stick at lightweight?
Yeah.
Just because the weight cut's so dramatic, or just you felt good at lightweight?
I felt good at lightweight.
What was the difference between how you felt at lightweight compared to featherweight? More power?
I felt more power, and also I felt like taking shots wasn't. I didn't get flashed or anything from shots like I would at 145.
That's a pretty stacked division.
It is.
So when are you looking at getting back in there again?
Hoping March or April max.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the generic question that we ask you guys all the time. Is there an opponent in mind, or?
I don't care, anybody.
All these mixed martial artists that I interview on this show, whenever I ask who they want to fight, they don't care. It could be you, it could be anyone. So that's great. So living in Las Vegas, how long's it been now?
7 years that I've been, from the first time I came here.
Yep.
And officially got my visa and moved here 3 years ago.
And what's the biggest difference between living in Tel Aviv and living in Las Vegas? Obviously, apart from the two completely different cultures, what was the hardest thing to get used to over here in America?
Being far away from the family, from my nephews, my brothers, my parents. That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
And also the food.
The food. Play that Tel Aviv. Let's everybody see where this young man comes from in the world here. So the food, much better over there?
I wouldn't say much better, but some things are better.
Yeah.
And, America has some good food, but just not Israeli food.
Right. So I'm from Australia, so I can understand what you mean when it comes to talking about food, and I know that I really do miss the food in Australia. So what's one of the what's one of the main dishes? Because I'm a big foodie as well. What's one of the main specific dishes that you get in Israel?
Just hummus.
Yep.
Yeah, and shawarma.
Yep.
And of course, mom's cooking. Like family dinner.
Yep.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Is it hard being? I suppose it's got to be hard being away from your family. But when you're pursuing a dream, does that kind of make it a little easier to accept being away from mum and dad?
Yeah, from a young age, from when I started karate, really, and I would make sacrifices all the time, things that would seem extreme to my surrounding, like I can't come to my cousin's birthday. Why? Because I got training. I can't do this. Why? Because I got training. Everything, I train every day, so I can't do anything else.
Right.
And people are like, "Oh, you're taking this too far. It's only it's only training. Come have fun." And I knew that missing one becomes missing 5, missing 10, missing 100. So I'd never miss training. And, I've done many sacrifices along the way. This is one of them.
Where's that mindset come from? Is that just a warrior's mindset? Is that a fighter's mindset?
I think it's kind of, maybe a warrior mindset, but it's very extremist, like taking everything to the extreme.
Do you have to be that way, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Like if you want to be successful at something, like you said, an extremist, you have to go all out. You have to be extreme. You have to not go to all those celebrations and just strictly put your mind at, well, you're in the right place for it. You mentioned that you were married. Any kids?
Not yet.
Is that going to happen in the future?
Maybe, yeah.
Do you believe that martial arts is a great thing for kids to get involved with when they're younger? Do you believe that all kids should do some kind of combat sport, whether it be boxing or judo or karate?
Absolutely. Yep. I think, sports is great for kids, but especially martial arts, I think. And I love also traditional martial arts and their values and karate and stuff like that, but I think competitive is sometimes better.
Yep.
So I think some sort of mix of the traditional and the competitive. So there's discipline and there's respect. Like an order of this. There's the sensei. You got to show him respect.
Hierarchy.
And, yeah. And but also competing, not just training in the dojo all the time and never, sometimes winning, sometimes losing, and learning to deal with it.
Sometimes winning, sometimes losing, and learning to deal with it. Win or learn. Yeah, that's sensational. So, it was season 4 of the Dana White's Contender Series. COVID's hit. There's been so much going on in this year. But your career is moving in the right direction. You mentioned earlier on that you're going to stick with lightweight. I'm really, really happy to hear about that. What about for fun? What do you guys do for fun here in Las Vegas?
Train.
That's it?
Yeah, movies with the wife.
Yeah.
Hanging out, maybe a little bit of video games, but just enough to recover from training and go at it again.
So let's talk about recovery from training. Obviously, it's such a huge part of being an athlete. What do you do to? I mean, you're obviously you get to spend time up at the UFC PI.
Yeah.
So which is state of the art, which should have everything that. So what do you do for part of your recovery? And are you injured anywhere at the moment?
I'm injured, all over the place, but we just push through. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have the PI, the PT staff over there, the strength conditioning to keep me, with prevention from injuries, being stronger and having a body that's, that can withstand more. Of course, all the extra like infrared, ice baths, cryotherapy, CBD, so right.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to, to help the body recover. Because every time, I like to train at least 3 times a day. And if you don't do the recovery, you're going to get into overtraining. So you can postpone the overtraining with good recovery.
Yep. Yep. So talk about the ice bath. What do you find is the huge benefits of that?
You know, I'm a very skeptical guy. Like usually if you tell me, oh, you're sore, walk in the ice bath and it'll help, I'll tell you, I don't believe you.
Right.
But doing it, you know, there's no way around it. When you walk in and you're feeling sore and beat up, it really helps.
Yep. So you don't believe things too easy. So you probably don't believe in UFOs or Bigfoot or anything like that either, right?
No.
Well, it's funny that you talk about cryotherapy. I just wanted to mention, this really amazing product that I came across. You know, I came across these guys a few months ago, maybe even 6 months ago, when I was interviewing Johnny Walker, and he came in with a Tidl shirt on, and we talked about it. And basically, Tidl is this amazing company that has come out with this cryotherapy product. So as we were mentioning earlier on, cryotherapy has got to do with the freezing of the muscle, inflammation. It helps with pain. It helps with joint function. This is a blast of cold like nothing that you've ever felt. Now, actually, you know, and the reason why I like to talk about these kind of things is because this is something that's very indicative to me. A couple of years ago, I suffered from a broken neck. I was recovering. I've tried many different hemp products, cryotherapy products, ISO hot. So up on the board there, that was me just after I broke my neck. I shattered 3 discs, cracked a bunch of bones, ended up with a titanium plate with 6 screws in my neck. That's going through the throat right there. Put the video on there. And basically, it's been about 2 years worth of recovery. I'm not joking, you guys. I tried this the other day. Now, I have a lot of aches and pains in my back, still just due because of the surgery in the muscles, lower back, right down the back of the rhomboids, even up into my lats. I have a lot of problems with the sciatic nerve. I put this stuff on and it's instant relief. I couldn't believe it. I'm going to be an advocate for this stuff. Absolutely unbelievable. Tidl, we're going to put all the information in the description. So I'm going to go right like this. Now, Natan, I want to give you one of these today. Are you sore? I want you to give yourself a little blast somewhere. Give yourself a little blast on the leg, just so you can feel the actual. So you can feel the actual power of this stuff. So when you're feeling sore, like, have you got anywhere on your leg? Like, I've got a bit of a sore knee at the moment.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to spray a bit on the knee. And it will hit you with a blast of cold. And also with the menthol in it. So, yeah, thank you very much to everybody at Tidl for sending me over this awesome stuff. I'm really happy about it. See how that goes, brother.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem at all. Ice baths. So what about whiskey? Are you a whiskey drinker?
The only thing I drink, yeah.
The only thing you drink?
Very rarely.
Okay, that's okay. So another one of our amazing affiliates here at the podcast is Proper 12 Whiskey. The guys send me over a couple of cases, and one thing I like to do here at my podcast is present all my guests that I'm so happy that to come on. You took your time out of your day with your very handsome manager over there to come over here and say hi. So this is tradition here at the podcast. Hello, wife. We call this the passing of the proper. So today for you, I have a brand new, very fresh, very shiny. This is going to be your first bottle of Proper 12, the tastiest, the finest Irish whiskey on the planet. The boys send this over to me, and I get to give it to all my guests. Natan,
thank you so much.
That one's for you right there. Did you see how he said it?
Thank you. Yeah, that's how you take a gift.
Yeah, that's it. I love it. I love it. So enjoy that. Have that after your...
That's good stuff. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem at all. So I want to talk about... We talked about injuries the other day. Did you watch the fight last week with Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier?
Course.
Yeah. So what did you think about that? And I've been doing a little bit of study on the old calf kick. Didn't really know too much about it, but I think it's just such a. How do you get away from something like that? How do you prevent that from happening? And the devastation of what that does is. What's it feel like to get kicked in the calf?
It's not fun, but I've been kicked in the calf since 2008 in Japan. That would be a very common kick. It kind of amazes me. It only got into MMA now.
Right.
I've been doing it in the gym and in fights since my amateur days. I think it's a great kick, but of course, like everything, and maybe when it's new and kind of surprising, at first people are finding it hard to defend it.
Yeah.
but it's very easy to defend, just like every other move.
The fibula is such a thin little bone in that part of the leg, and I know that the peroneal nerve that goes all the way from the back there, that goes all the way up, when that's compromised or damaged, the actual purpose of that nerve is movement in that portion of the leg. So when that's damaged, it shuts off all. You can't feel anything from the bottom of the leg, which obviously your power's got to come from your legs. It's a very, very small muscle, and I think that Dustin Poirier's game plan was just absolutely unbelievable. He came in, he took the win, and I think he did a great job. Would you like to see them run it back a third time?
Yeah, I'd love to, of course. I think it was a great game plan by Dustin. And yeah, you kick somebody's foundation from underneath them, they won't be able to do much.
Yep.
And you can tell like Connor's punches got sloppier, slower. He started swinging for defenses, and he wasn't sniping like he usually is. Connor's a pressure fighter, and pressure, it needs to be like a net of flies. Like there's a cloud of flies right on above shit. You go like this, what happens? They spread,
Yep.
come back. Spread, come back. That's what pressure got to be like. You can't just pressure nonstop. That's what happened in my mind.
That's a great analogy. And obviously didn't go as planned, but hey, that's the beauty of this sport. It's the only sport that I like. I like all sports in general, but when I'm watching the UFC, it's the only sport that gives me a physical feeling when I'm watching it. Whether it's sweaty palms, whether it's butterflies in the stomach, whether I can't wait for it that day. Is that how you feel when you watch the fights as well? Did you just love watching UFC?
Yeah, I love watching it, and especially when you got friends fighting, like in last week when Joanne Calderwood was fighting Jessica Ai.
Yep.
Then, of course, I love Conor and Poirier. Love watching them fight each other.
Yep. Hooker and Chandler was another great one.
Great one, but like watching a friend is different. You feel like more scared than you would be fighting yourself, because then you're in control. But when you're not in control, it's your friend. You don't want them to get hurt. Every punch, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But we knew she had it. She had it, and she went there and did her job.
So when you have an emotional investment in someone, it must drive you guys crazy then watching all these fighters. I mean, seeing all of your guys getting punched in the face like that, that's got to be hard for you. You must have a hard shell. No.
Yeah, he'll tell me I show it.
He does. He sees his face when he gets nervous.
Yeah, he gets nervous.
Yeah. Do you think that comes down to like management's got to be like family? Do you think that your management has got to be part of your family in a sense, someone that cares a lot about you, that wants the best interest? The one thing that I've found with everybody from Iridium Sports Management, it's like one big happy family. All you guys over there, it's just great. And so March. That's what you're going for. But in between them, what's next, man? What's your goals? What's the future hold? What do you want to do?
I just got my own like training goals, what I want to do, what I want to get better at. But that's really like I don't want to call it killing time, because when you kill time, you lose that time. I want to use that time well, but be ready for a fight, and can't wait to get in there.
You've got such a your head's really screwed on for 29 years old, and I think you're doing an amazing job. And I'm sure that your parents and your wife and your family and your management is just super, super proud of you, because I know the world is. So how I always like to kind of finish things off is on a positive note. If there's something that you could say to any of your fans out there, or maybe to someone that's struggling a little bit in life that needs some encouragement, someone that looks up to you, is there some words of wisdom that you could give the people out there that are listening? I know I always like to, it's a little bit of pressure, but if there's some words of wisdom that you could give to some future karate kids out there, spin that in.
First of all, I live by a sentence. It goes, single-mindedness is all-powerful, right? If you put your mind into one thing, not 5 things, one thing, and you put all your resources, all your energy, all your financials, everything into this goal, you can achieve it. And that's what I live by. And Of course, I always had this path in my mind, how I'm going to get to the UFC, what I'm going to do in the UFC. And there was a lot of naysayers. Many people gave me their opinions, even though they never made it to the UFC. They never left their comfort zone. So don't listen to the naysayers. If you got something in your mind, in your heart, you got passion that's burning you, go for it. Just do it.
Well, there you go. I mean, we couldn't have even said it better than that. Man, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today. I'm new to this industry, and just having people on like you just helps me learn, and it's great to talk to such great people. You seem like a great guy. And, mate, I wish nothing but the best for you. I know you're going to do big things in this sport, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where your career goes.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Marcus Deegan for the What Happens Here podcast. Always a good time on the show. Thanks very much for joining us. Make sure you check us out on all social media platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Big thanks to our sponsors, Proper 12 Irish Whiskey, MMA Uncensored, and Urban Performance Labs. This is Marcus Deegan. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Take care. See you next time.